I never thought a delayed train would save my life. It was New Year's Eve 2022, and I was taking the last train from Chicago back to my small hometown in Wisconsin. The station was practically empty, just me, an elderly couple, and a few other stragglers trying to make it home for the holiday. When they announced another hour delay, I almost lost it. I'd already missed my family's annual dinner, and now I'd barely make it for midnight. The train finally arrived around 10 p.m. I found an empty car and settled in for the 2-hour journey. As we pulled away from the bright city lights, darkness crept in. The gentle rocking of the train and the rhythmic clicking of wheels against rails almost lulled me to sleep. Then the train stopped. We were in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by snow-covered fields and distant forest. The conductor announced there was some mechanical issue they needed to check. Great, another delay. After 20 minutes, I noticed something odd. The elderly couple who had boarded with me were gone. In fact, everyone was gone. The entire car was empty. I got up to stretch my legs and maybe find someone to ask about the delay. The next car was empty too. And the next. That's when I saw them. Footprints in the light dusting of snow that had blown in through the door between cars. They led to the door but didn't come back. I followed them, car after car, until I reached the last one. The door at the end was open, swaying slightly. The footprints led right out into the darkness. I peered out, my breath forming clouds in the frigid air. That's when I saw them, dozens of dark figures standing in the snow, completely motionless, all facing the train. I ran through every car, hoping to find someone, anyone. When I reached the engine car, I found it empty. The control panel was dark. The train hadn't stopped for repairs, it had been abandoned. I pulled out my phone, no signal. Of course, through the front window, I could see more of those figures emerging from the tree line, walking slowly toward the train. I was trapped. That's when I heard it, another train horn in the distance. The figures turned toward the sound. I used their distraction to slip out the side door and ran through the snow, not daring to look back. I ran until my lungs burned, until I found a road, until I flagged down a passing truck. The driver told me there hadn't been a train running on that line for over a year. When I checked the news the next day, I found out why. Exactly 1 year ago, on New Year's Eve, a train had derailed on that very stretch of track. There were no survivors. I still take the train sometimes, but never on New Year's Eve. And I always check to make sure there are other passengers, real ones, before I board.
Getting invited to the most exclusive New Year's party in Los Angeles should have been a dream come true. Instead, it turned into my worst nightmare. I was a nobody, just a wannabe screenwriter working as a barista, when Tyler Chen, the hottest young director in Hollywood, handed me a black envelope with a golden address embossed on the front. "Midnight, New Year's Eve, don't be late," he said, before disappearing into the morning crowd. The address led to a mansion perched high in the Hollywood Hills. As I pulled up in my beat-up Honda, valets were parking Lamborghinis and Bentleys. Everyone was wearing masks, elaborate Venetian pieces that probably cost more than my monthly rent. A woman in a peacock mask handed me a simple black one at the door. The party was everything you'd expect: champagne fountains, ice sculptures, a string quartet playing modern hits. But something felt off. Maybe it was the way people moved, too fluid, too perfect. Maybe it was how no one seemed to eat or drink, despite the endless supply of food and alcohol. Around 11:30, Tyler clinked his glass and announced it was time for the ceremony. The guests formed a circle in the grand ballroom. That's when I noticed the floor, intricate symbols carved into the marble, all surrounding a central circle. They started chanting, something that didn't sound like any language I'd ever heard. The symbols began to glow with a sickly green light. I tried to leave, but two guests grabbed my arms, their masks suddenly looking more grotesque than elegant. Tyler approached me, now wearing a different mask, one that seemed to be made of actual human skin. "We needed a pure soul," he said. "Someone who still had dreams. Someone who still believed in magic. You're going to help us stay young forever." I fought back. In the struggle, I knocked over one of the candles they'd placed around the circle. The curtains caught fire, and chaos erupted. Not because they were afraid of the fire, but because the sprinklers activated, washing away the carefully applied makeup that had been hiding their true appearances. Their skin was gray and withered, like corpses that had been preserved for centuries. Behind their masks, their eyes were empty sockets. I ran. Behind me, I could hear them screaming, not in fear, but in rage. Their perfect party had been ruined, and their chance at another year of stolen life was slipping away. The next day, the mansion had vanished. In its place was a burned-out shell that locals said had been abandoned for decades. I tried to write a screenplay about what happened, but every copy mysteriously deletes itself. Sometimes, I still get black envelopes in the mail. I burn them without opening them.
911, what's your emergency?
I worked as a 911 dispatcher for 6 years, but I'll never forget my last shift, New Year's Eve 2021. The night was surprisingly quiet, just a few drunk drivers and minor accidents. Then, at 11:47 p.m., I got the call that made me quit my job. The voice was young, maybe a teenage girl. She was whispering, barely audible. "Someone's in my house. They just came in through the basement door. I'm hiding in my closet." I started the standard protocol, dispatching officers while keeping her on the line. But something was wrong. The call wasn't showing up in our system. No address, no phone number, nothing. "Can you tell me your address?" I asked. 1247 Maple Street, she whispered. "Please hurry. I can hear them coming up the stairs." I knew that address. Everyone in our small town did. 3 years ago, a girl had been murdered there on New Year's Eve. She'd called 911, but due to a system glitch, help arrived too late. Sarah whimpered. "He's right outside the closet. Why aren't they here yet? You promised someone would come. You promised last time." The line went silent for a moment. Then I heard the closet door creak open, followed by a scream that I'll never forget. The call ended. I sent officers to the house anyway. It had been abandoned since the murder, but they found something disturbing. In the upstairs closet, there was a cell phone, an old flip phone, covered in dust. When they checked it, the battery was dead. It had been dead for years. But at exactly 11:47 p.m., when the call came in, all the office's radios picked up a burst of static. And in that static, they swear they could hear a girl screaming. I quit the next day. I couldn't handle the thought of another call like that. Sometimes, late at night, my phone rings. The number always shows up as 1 to 247. I never answer it.
Three, 2, 1.
My friends always teased me about being single on New Year's Eve, so when I saw an ad for a new dating app called Countdown, I figured I had nothing to lose. The app was different from others. It only worked on New Year's Eve, promising to match you with your soulmate at midnight. Seemed gimmicky, but kind of fun. At 11:30 p.m., I got my first match. Sarah. Her profile picture showed a gorgeous brunette with striking green eyes. We started chatting immediately. The conversation was perfect, too perfect. She liked everything I liked, finished my thoughts before I could type them. By 11:45, we agreed to video chat. When she appeared on screen, something was wrong. Her face kept glitching, pixels scrambling. But her voice was hypnotic. "I can't wait to meet you," she said. Just keep watching. Don't look away. 5 more minutes until we're together forever. That's when I noticed my reflection in the dark screen. Someone was standing behind me. But I couldn't look away. I couldn't move. In the reflection, more figures appeared. All with glitching faces, all counting down. At midnight, my phone screen shattered. When I finally could move again, I saw hundreds of missed calls from my family. I'd been staring at my phone for 3 days. The app was gone from my phone. But every New Year's Eve, exactly at 11:30, my phone lights up with a message. "Ready for your perfect match."
They found it while breaking ground for the new high school. An old metal box with "Do Not Open Until New Year's Eve 1999" etched into the lid. The funny thing was, this was New Year's Eve 2023. As the site's head archaeologist, I convinced them to let me open it during the live streaming event. 24 years late, but better than never. The local news came out. We made it a whole thing, countdown to midnight, champagne, the works. Nobody noticed the temperature dropping as midnight approached. The box was sealed with strange symbols. As we began the countdown, they started to glow faintly. 10, 9, 8. The lid began to vibrate. 7, 6, 5. Frost spread across the metal. 4, 3, 2. The symbols pulsed with light. 1. Black smoke poured out, bringing with it the smell of rot and decay. But that wasn't the worst part. The photos showed this exact moment. The same room, the same people, but in different years. 1999, 1976, 1953, 1930. The room began to shift. People flickered like bad TV reception, showing different versions of themselves throughout time. I watched as everyone aged forwards and backwards, becoming their past and future selves all at once. When the smoke cleared, I was alone. Where the crowd had been, only photos remained, showing everyone trapped in different times. Now, every New Year's Eve, I receive photos from them, some from the past, some from futures that haven't happened yet. All begging me to open the box again. I had the box reburied with a new message, never open. But sometimes, late at night, I can still hear the counting.
You've just experienced New Year's Eve horror stories. If you enjoyed these tales of twisted nightmares, subscribe to our channel for more horror stories that will keep you up at night.